So let's talk about Samsara. Well, first of all, the film is brilliant. I think. I mean, some of the most amazing imagery I've ever seen. But for those people out there who have no idea what the film is, just give us a quick overview of what it is.
Well, it's a nonverbal. I guess we'd call it a nonverbal guided meditation on the themes of birth, death, and rebirth. Is a concise way to say it.
All right, and like I said, it features all this amazing imagery. I know that it was filmed over a few years, 25 different countries.
Yeah.
What was the most challenging aspect of putting the whole thing together?
Well, I think just for the crew to be out on the road for 3.5 years and a lot of exotic places, it's just tough to keep it, that long. Keep it all together, and a lot of trying individual locations, but in total, I think it's just the sum of just making the commitment to spend that much time making a film.
Right. And were there any, I mean, you guys filmed so many things from, just cityscapes to, people to religious ceremonies. Was there any particular moment or scene that was, presented an unusual challenge or that was harder to film than everything else?
Oh, everything had, there were physically demanding, locations, and then there were locations that were really hard to access that took a lot of front-end work, like Mecca, for example.
Mm-hmm.
The physically demanding ones were places like the sulfur mine in Java in Indonesia. That was a really tough shoot with that gas that was around there, and sulfuric acid vapor.
Right.
There's a whole different sets of challenges, accessing locations and actually going out and doing it. So, there's a lot of, some of them you have to hike uphill, hike a lot. In Ladakh, in India, where we filmed the Sand Mandala, that was about 12,000 feet. It was really, it took some getting used to physically.
Right. And, one of the things I noticed about the film is that there's no mention or cataloging of where all these shots take place. Like, as you're watching the film, it doesn't say, there's no subtitles saying, hey, this was filmed here, or, no title card saying this was filmed here. Was that a purposeful decision to allow the themes of the film to carry forth, or, to keep it a little more vague, or was that done for a different reason?
Well, it's just, we're trying to create an experience that's not intellectual in nature. That's more of a inner feeling kind of experience. And when if you want to make it about, this is a beautiful mountain in this part of the world, it's really a different kind of film than this. It's really an informational documentary.
Right.
And that's not what we're doing.
Right.
So it's just, we're intercutting a lot. I mean, there's a lot of intercutting of, like material, like we go from Brazil to the Philippines, back to Brazil, back to Asia. There's just, we want to show how things flow together and how things are interconnected.
Right.
And it just doesn't, it isn't that kind of film where we're interested in, making it an experience about, gee, this is a cool place in Manila, and this is a cool place in Burma or something. It
right.
Isn't what it's about.
Cool. Now I want to talk about the Blu-ray a little bit. Also, I know it's I watched it in high definition. It's amazing, and I know it's been called the most technically advanced Blu-ray release available. And I was curious if you were involved in that and sort of what went into the putting that together.
Technical as you want. You want how much technology you want?
Well, let's say medium. Don't go too crazy. But
our approach to this film, which was the other film, that was on this scale, was Baraka. That was 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, both films were shot in 70mm film, which is, still the highest way of capturing imagery, highest fidelity way of capturing imagery. There's nothing in digital that rivals it yet.
Right.
And, we made that decision early on that digital just wasn't ready for us when we started back in '06, the end of '06. There was a lower digital standard, and digital cameras have improved dramatically, as all things electronic and digital get better all the time, and so we made the decision to go with the best image being the main character, just the highest fidelity format we could for image capture, which was 65mm negative, or it's commonly known as 70mm millimeter film format.
Right.
And when we had the negative, when we edited the film and video, we did what's called a telecine, which takes the film and puts it into a digital environment.
Mm-hmm.
And we could work with it and edit it. But once we had the film conformed, we did a high resolution scanning process, which is you scan one frame at a time
mm-hmm.
at 8K resolution, which is a very long process. It took over a month at PhotoCamp, and we're scanning about 150,000 frames or something.
Right.
And our visual file size was over 20 terabytes in size. It was at that resolution, 8K.
Right.
So it's super high fidelity, and I guess that thing that you read to me about the highest fidelity, I don't know who wrote that, maybe MPI, but that's because no one's really starting with film negative like this. So we have a higher resolution starting point, and that gets translated in, and that quality gets embedded into the digital file through the scanning process.
Right.
And then it gets down-res to Blu-ray from that 20 terabyte file. It goes through steps. It goes to 4K, and then it goes down to Blu-ray. But
mm-hmm.
it retains all this detail that you don't get if you scan it across it. If you start at Blu-ray resolution, you don't get as good a detail as if you start it, if you oversample it at 8K.
Right.
Kind of making a long story short, but that's why it ends up, such high resolution on the Blu-ray.
Right. What now with the restraints of DVD compared to Blu-ray? Was there ever a moment where you said, "Hey, let's just do this in high def," or did you never consider that? And just because there is obviously still a large DVD market out there.
Yeah, there is, and the DVD is good too for the same reasons.
Right.
Because we're starting with such a high resolution master.
Right.
So it should be as good a DVD as you can do.
Sure. Now, obviously, you guys shot, I imagine, boatloads of footage. How difficult a process is it whittling that down to picking out the stuff that makes up the final film?
Well, that's how it all happens in the editing process, and we have a loose kind of structure for the film that really was based on the creation and construction of the sand mandala. The sequence that bookends the film. That's the main structural element of Samsara, but it's within that framework. There's a lot of different sequences, and there's a lot of ways we can go together, and that really happens in the editing process. And kind of going with the flow of it, being open to that. Not relying on something that's detailed and written. We had something more detailed when we made Baraka, and we didn't follow it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're a lot more relaxed this time out, just knowing that we find a film. You make the film with the imagery that you bring back,
right?
And you don't make it with something that you wrote, because we're capturing nonfiction material out in the world, and you just can't predict what you're going to get exactly, and you can't predict what are the great moments. There's moments that happen, surprises like that. You saw Samsara.
Yes.
So there's the geisha. There's the tear that
mm-hmm.
happened. That just happened.
Right.
We got that. We got the things that happen that are just happy accidents that kind of dictate how the film goes together.
Right.
And so just being open to that kind of, it's like a Zen process almost. Just being open to that, and then finding the film within the material, and that's how we do it. And Ron and I edited it. Just the two of us. We each took different blocks and different sequences,
mm-hmm.
and edit 3 to 4 to 5 minute sequences of subject matter, like
right.
Manufacturing, or I don't know, the image of nature, for example, like the glacier and the mono lake shots and that kind of stuff. And so that goes together. And then we did the music after the film was edited. We edited in total silence.
Right.
Which was interesting also.
I can imagine. So since, Baraka, like you said, was 20 years ago, and then it took you, from 2006 till now, it's been 7 years since you, first started Samsara. Is there another project on the horizon, or are you just taking a break for right now?
Well, right now, I'm still working on Samsara. It's been about 6 years since we started, and it's still coming out in other markets, in other countries. It'll be released theatrically in Russia in a month, and France in a month, and so it just opened in Australia a week ago.
Okay.
So things like that. There's a lot of details that I have to deal with, but I think it's hard to do projects like this. They just take up such a lot of your life energy,
Right, sure.
And you got to have space if you want to. I got personally, I have a family, and it just depends on how you just got to juggle a lot to make these projects happen.
Right. So wrapping up then, Mark, what's the one thing you want people out there to know about Samsara?
I wouldn't say this. I would just say the best way to watch Samsara is to just go in there and let the images and music wash over you, and not try to make it about it, too intellectual of an experience. Just be open to it, and just surrender to the images and music, and